Hello, it's Debbie Gilbert from the Business Awards show, and I'm also the founder of the Best Businesswomen Awards. And today I'm joined by Nevina Holland, photographer extraordinaire and founder of Peekaboo Studios. And Nevina specializes in the most stunning newborn photography and maternity photography. So when you finish listening to this podcast, you have to go to her website and look at her images because they are simply incredible. Now, Nevina won one of our Best Businesswomen Awards back in 2017. She won the Best Customer Service category, and she's also won lots of photography awards as well. So I wanted to invite her onto the podcast because, it's 8 years ago since she won one of our awards. And so it'd be lovely to talk to her about her journey since winning the award for Best Customer Service and the impact that awards have had on her business. So welcome, Nevina.
Hello, thank you, Debbie. Thanks for having me on. It's a real opportunity for me.
It's lovely to see you again. So let's go back to the very beginning because we always like to do this on our show and talk about what made you go into photography and what made you set up Peekaboo Studios.
So I have been running Peekaboo Studios for 14 years now, so it's quite a long time. So about halfway through that journey, that's when I entered the Businesswomen Awards. And I think I started my journey just because I have a passion for photography. Absolutely love it, which is the obvious answer to give. It's in my blood, it's in my DNA, I feel. It started back when I was about 10 years old. I just loved looking through albums, that nostalgic feeling of going through the old cellophane albums, watching my mum take photographs. I mean, back in the day, it was all film, and it was those kind of Instamatic flash cubes. I mean, do you remember? I mean,
Yes, I do. I am old enough to remember that.
they looked like ice cubes on top, and they were like,
Yes, yes.
um, I remember those, and I was fascinated by it. And my mum also had a Polaroid camera, so that whole feeling. She used to let me pull out the photograph and
Yeah.
sort of air it out, and that kind of thing. And it all started from there. I really enjoyed it. It brings back a lot of really good memories. So even when I was young, I always fancied the idea of being a photographer, but I didn't know what I would be photographing. I didn't really know that I would enjoy photographing people as such. I think it was only really when I actually went traveling for a year and I photographed people all around the world, different faces, kind of elderly faces, people that had worked really hard. I kind of went to Thailand, Cambodia, Peru, and visited tribes and things like that. I think that's when I realized I really wanted to photograph people and their stories and their history behind them and what makes them tick. However, when I finished uni, I studied GCSE photography, studied A level, and then went on to do degree. But I didn't go direct into a photography career. I think back then I thought photography is not really going to make me much money. If I want to kind of get on the ladder, I just had this idea in my head that it wasn't worthy enough to pull in money. So I kind of fell into an amazing career, and I'm really glad I did, of marketing and public relations. So I did 10 years of that. Um, and to be honest, that actually really helped me promote my business. So I have no problems in writing a press release, picking up the phone, speaking to the editor of newspapers, I radio interviews, shouting about myself, celebrating my successes. That all really helped. So maybe it was meant to be. But when I had my first baby in 2009, even though I'd forged this amazing career, I struggled to go back into marketing and public relations just because it was traveling into London. It was really time consuming. There was so many deadlines working with the national press. I had to be on call all of the time. And I wasn't seeing my children. I kind of think, why did I have a family? This is really tough. I found it really overwhelming, even though it was the best job in the world for me. Just, working on campaigns and opening the newspaper the next day and seeing my work. And actually my writing, I'm a really good writer as well. So, you know, you're a really good writer when a journalist will just literally copy and paste your press release and not change any of it. But, you know, I learned skills like getting quotes from experts, to, you know, I guess, you know, to back up what you do. Again, I learned about entering awards. One thing you probably don't know about me is that my first job was media analyst, and part of that job description was to write award submissions for really large companies. So writing, you know, writing and collating awards was something that was second nature to me. So when it came to entering the Best Business Women Awards and putting together that great big document, what I call a dissertation, it wasn't hard for me. It was second nature. And so that's one of the reasons why I entered the awards, because I'd been doing it for other clients with my eyes closed, mostly for the trade press, actually. So, and we won quite a few PR Week awards, and I would say I had a lot to do with it, because it was me that pulled together all the press cuttings, all the proof of various different things. You know, it was a no-brainer for me to eventually enter awards. But what made me start the business? It's basically just the fact that it's flexible. I can work around my children. I can go, you know, I can go and watch their nativity plays. You know, I don't have to miss certain parts of their childhood. You know, I'd made this decision to have children. I always wanted children. But it just gave me that flexibility. Going into newborn photography as well, I specialised in that just because I love babies. I love capturing the tiny detail. You know, I think a lot of photographers can photograph babies because they're quite easy to photograph. They're just cute. You can just snap away. But I decided to niche into newborn photography because it's really different. And I'm quite an emotive person. I like to capture that emotive connection between mother and child, father and child. Often in my shoots, my clients aren't looking at me. They're not, you know, posing like they would do at home. They're actually engaging with their baby. They're looking down at their baby, or they've often got their eyes closed. It just gives that more emotive feel, that rawness to it. And I love the feeling that it's almost like I'm not even there. You know, I actually say to the client, you know, hold your baby, actually nuzzle into them, smell them. What do they smell like? You know, they forget about me. I don't, you know, it's not this kind of stand there and smile. You know, it's forget that I'm here, and I really want to capture it. I have a lot of challenges as well, in that a lot of clients don't want to be in the photographs because they feel like they've put on weight, they've just had a baby, you know, they're just not happy with themselves, because it is only a few days. The babies are 4 to 10 days old, so mum has literally just given birth. But I say to them, I really do push. I do say to them, you know, I've been doing this for a long time now. Just put your trust in me and just please try and take one picture. The picture's actually not for you, it's for them. It's for their legacy, it's for their heritage. It's, you know, without being horrible, you know, we're not going to be here forever. And I don't know how many of us can say at our age now, you know, have they seen a picture of their mum holding them, just holding them at just a few days old? I mean, technology wasn't what it was now back in the day anyway. But I kind of feel sorry for the children who, like my husband he's only seen his first picture, I think, when he was 5 years old. And it's quite sad, whereas my parents took so many pictures. And we only discovered this when we got married and we had to have our wedding video, and the videographer wanted lots of pictures of us growing up to do a little slideshow, and we couldn't find hardly any of him. And then I've got my best friend who had a house fire and lost all her pictures. You know, so her children, you know, probably doesn't really have anything until the age of 8 onwards. So it's quite sad. And I feel like for me, for my passion, I feel like it's our birthright to show our children what they looked like right from day one, right from the beginning. And actually beyond that, when they were growing inside you, you know, what you've created, I think it's really magical. And hence why I've now started to do maternity photography and love all that. So I started the business in 2010, and I progressed into, I mean, I was just photographing just babies then, babies that can sit up, clap their hands, have expressions, it's not
So
you.
how did you get your first clients? I'm intrigued to know. You kind of went from this corporate career.
Yeah.
Um, where did you get your first clients and how did you kind of move it into a business?
So my first clients were actually my NCT group.
Ah,
We have, I don't know, 6 or 7 new friends that you've met, and I kind of said to them, do you know what, how do you fancy having a free shoot, free pictures, free everything, just bring along.
so it was at the back of your mind at that point you were going to set up a business.
Yeah, so it'd always been a hobby. So
Mm.
I'd always taken photographs. Just didn't know how I was going to set up or start a business. I actually, back then, I joined, I think it's called Business Link. Like
That's
today,
right.
you have
Yeah.
is it Wenta or Stanta? Today, you have that. But they had so many resources about trademarking your business, about, and it was all free. So I
Mm.
kind of hooked onto that, and I went on to, they actually had face-to-face courses back then, and I went to a lot of them. And that really did help. You know, I'm not going to lie, I'm not like, in terms of business, being business minded itself, like doing my accounts and things like that. I'm not that kind of person, but I'm definitely successfully running a business. And you're successful when you get asked to be a guest speaker. When you're award winning. Your customer service is great. So it's just, it kind of all just started from there, just photographing my NCT group, and it grew organically from then. So they told their friends, who then told their friends, and then I started to sort of put some prices in place. And honestly, so from 2010, I haven't stopped. I have not stopped um, photographing babies for a second, until it was COVID. But I've never really had to advertise. It's all been pretty much word of mouth, a bit of social media, but it's been friends telling friends. That's how I get all of my business, which is great because people put their trust from someone they've recommended. If it's someone that has been recommended, they trust that person more.
So let's talk about recommendation because word of mouth marketing is so important, especially in your industry. And you are known for your strong customer service because you are dealing with a very personal and private moment in people's lives. There's no doubt about that. And you've already alluded to the fact that women are feeling a little bit vulnerable. They know they want the photos of their babies, but they're feeling a bit vulnerable at that moment in time. So let's talk about some of the things that you do, maybe that other photographers don't, that puts you to the top of the tree in terms of your customer service. So talk me through some of the things that you've done that means that people recommend you.
So one of the things that was highlighted when I won Best Customer Service in 2017 was the fact that I actually go and collect mums that can't drive uh,
Oh,
in my own car. I make sure that they've got the ISOFIX car seat mechanism so that it's all safe. Um, so my newborn shoots do really need to take place under 2 weeks old. And if you've had a cesarean, you can't actually drive until I think it's 6 to 8 weeks.
yeah.
And yes, hubby can bring you, but sometimes it's single mums that come to me. And if there's ever an issue that they can't come, because I prefer not to photograph the baby older, because I won't be able to get those kind of really curled up, beautiful pictures that I get. So I offer them to go and pick them up, and I do it quite a lot actually. And they're really overwhelmed with it, and they're like, "Oh my God, like seriously." And I said, "Yeah, it's absolutely no problem." Especially if they're local, so St Albans, Hemel, Watford, it's just a no-brainer for me, and it just shows that I've gone that extra mile. But for me, I don't even feel like I'm going that extra mile. I'm just helping the mum. I like to do that. I just think it's just a nice thing to do. I never thought it sets me apart. It's just let me do something that can help. Other things that I do is if a client has bought their gallery and they want to buy some artwork, if they live locally, I will offer to go to their homes and um, look around their homes and tell them where artwork could be best placed, or they might have like multiple pictures put into a kind of storyboard. And you know, it might be that they've got a stairway and they can do a 1, 2, 3, 4 up the stairs. You know, they don't have that kind of visual expertise the way I do. So I don't mind going along and giving a bit of a helping hand and helping them choose their products. So you can see behind me, I've got this circular here, and they only look good in certain places. So it sells really well, that product, just because, I guess, because it's there. But you know, it might go in a place, you know, where originally there was a mirror or something like that on the top of the stairs where you go and there's a mirror, something like that. So I offer that service. I think going the extra mile with my maternity clients as well, it can be very challenging when, so photographing a newborn baby I can do with my eyes closed. If they haven't given me any ideas or any direction or any steer, I've got so many ideas I can do for them. But with maternity, like you said, it's really personal. I don't know that person. I don't know their hang-ups. I don't know their body issues. I need to be able to be empathetic to whether they like to be covered up, you know, cover their arms. They might have issues with, you know, they might feel their arms are a bit bigger in certain places and things like that. So I need to be able to understand how they're feeling at the time. You know, it's hormones are everywhere. They've come to me for a photo shoot. When you ask them what their brief is, they're just like, I don't know, I just want some nice pictures of me so I can look back. But actually, I want them to walk away from my studio feeling incredible. I want them to feel like a princess. I want them to. I actually teach power posing in my sessions. I spend 10 minutes actually teaching them posing. Most of the people that come to me, you know, they're not showy people. That I love it when I do get people that are like, yeah, you know, that's amazing, because that just makes my job so easy. But 80% of the clients, they're really shy, especially with their partners. They're like, what are we doing here? You know, oh my God, this is crazy. But I will literally make them feel empowered. I want them to embrace motherhood, embrace their changing bodily shapes, not feel like, oh, I'm just fat now. You know, in history, you know, pregnancy was very concealed. It was very, you know, the fashions were different. We had to wear lots of layers and hide it. And, you know, it we were just we were just hidden, basically. It was taboo or a sin in some cases. Whereas the 21st century is really changed now, and you know, it's about showing off. You know, it's only 9 months, 8 or 9 months that we're pregnant. We should be proud that we're growing a miracle inside us. So I want the women to engage with their belly, you know, look at it, you know, be so excited about what's about to happen, not be afraid. You know, I want them to feel empowered and proud. So by power posing, I mean, you know, hands on your hips, head held high, you know, chin up, looking up, dreaming, you know, close your eyes, dream about what's about to happen, about meeting your child, you know. And you know, I feel that's something that I do that's a little bit different. I've had clients that have come to me that have already had a maternity shoot and just felt like they were on a conveyor belt and just stand there and wear this and put this on, you know, and they didn't like the pictures, so they've come to me. And it's evident in my testimonials that I've had clients say, you know, I've even written it down here, I never thought I could look like this. That was someone called Chris. Um, Someone called Eden and Emily. She made us feel so at ease to step outside of our comfort zones. And then another lady, Lizzie, I felt so empowered, you know, walking away from my shoot. And I invest in some beautiful maternity gowns from abroad that I've researched from Italy and the Netherlands that are really different, not something that they can just order for off Amazon, something that really complements different shapes and styles and figures to make them just feel incredible. These gowns are like between three and £500. You know, once I've invested in them, I can use them again and again. But I just want women to feel amazing. And then, you know, the idea is that they come for their maternity shoot and then hopefully onto the newborn shoot. And I'll do then like a before and after. They might wear the same gown before, same gown after, you know. It's just lovely to go that extra mile and really be compassionate and to how they're feeling and how nervous they are, especially if it's baby number one.
Yes, because that's the one, isn't it? And the one thing I did remember about your photography, and I mean, bearing in mind, this is years ago, I remember seeing an image where you'd got a little baby curled up, and next to it had a baseball bat and a little baseball, because I think presumably the dad was probably into baseball. And it was those little touches where
Yeah.
you're bringing in those family elements that I was like, oh, I wish you'd been around when my children were little. I had real FOMO.
Am I right in thinking one of your friends came for a shoot afterwards?
Yeah.
Hayden and Arthur.
Yes.
Beverly. Was it
Yeah. I
Beverly?
think so. Yeah.
Um, Straight after, actually, she came for a shoot and we had a really, really lovely session. I was just trying to look back in time there, but yeah, I one of again another of my USPs is my props and how I really make my service bespoke to every client. So every shoot is different. I'm not what I consider a cookie cutter photography where I have five poses and I do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it's like a conveyor belt next. I spend a lot of time doing a consultation with my clients. So I'll do it on the phone or I'll do it on Zoom, and I'll actually delve into their lives. I'll find out a bit about them, about their history, about their heritage, about their traditions. I'll even get them to bring in like traditional fabrics or items of jewelry or things that can represent where they've come from, because I think it's a baby's birthright to know where they've come from. Um, and to know their roots and their heritage. And actually, something I do, especially since COVID, is I actually invite grandparents to every single session now, because it's something that I do different now because we lost so many grandparents in COVID. And I feel like they're the forgotten people. And I think if it wasn't for our grandparents, especially if we have a good relationship with them, if we don't, that's understandable. But people don't realize that they can actually bring their grandparents, and it's really nice to get that generation. So you've got grandparents, then you've got mum, and then you've got even great grandparents. And something I've done recently is photograph, the very newborn hands in the very old wrinkled
Oh, yeah, that's lovely.
of I think she was maybe 98. And obviously she's not going to live much longer, but that photograph won a gold award. And it's just all it is just the hands holding the hands, and it's just beautiful. But the lighting that was used that brought out all the veins and all the knobbly fingers, it just really brought it to life. So bringing together generations is something that I do, that maybe that's quite different and stands out a bit as well. Uh,
Definitely. So let's talk about photography awards versus business awards, because you've entered a lot of photography awards. And when you entered the Best Businesswomen Awards, we were the first business awards that I think you'd entered. Am I
yeah,
right? So
definitely the first business awards that I'd entered.
talk through the difference between the two, because I think one of the big differentiators is that the photography awards are demonstrating your ability as a photographer, and the business awards are showcasing you as a businesswoman. So, what advantages have you had from these awards in both camps?
So I think it's really important. My advice would be to anyone who's got their own business to definitely enter both styles of award. Um, I with industry awards, it's obviously going to show your technical expertise. So I've won various awards with the Master Photographers Association. So I've won Best Child Portrait Photographer of the Year and Best Family Portrait Photographer of the Year in 2021. Um, I've got some really amazing trophies as well, as you can see. Um,
I
and I've got lots of trophies. I don't know if you can see them, but they're all
can,
and
yeah.
lots of certificates and bits of press coverage on the wall. But um, just receiving these honours and these badges and sort of golds and silvers and bronzes, it definitely elevates you as a photographer. It shows you as an expert. I feel that you can actually put your prices up if you're an award winner. Dare I say it? It's like choosing a restaurant, and you'd much rather go to a Michelin star restaurant than your average restaurant. I think I was looking at something recently as well. I think maybe a massage or something. And when I was looking, everyone does their research, they shop around. But if they see award winning, I do think it has that extra pull. You know, that the fact that, you know, you're probably going to get really good customer service as well. You're going to get a quality product that's kind of already in your head. And industry awards have done a lot for me. I enter them a lot. I'm one of those people, like, you know, you've got to be in it to win it. If you don't put yourself forward, then it's not going to come to you. And industry awards are quite regular. They're annually. Some of them are monthly. So, you know, whenever I get a really beautiful picture, and my pictures are quite different. I know that some people won't be able to see this, but I'll just show you some of my work. So this is something that won a national award. So it's a picture of a newborn baby balanced on their dad's back.
Amazing.
And it's something really, really different. I have had the inspiration where I've done a photograph of a baby on a dad's back who's doing a natural press up. But this one, I wanted it to be completely different. There's something completely original that's my own. You know, I added the reflection in post editing afterwards. But it's something I had in my head, and I wanted it to bring it to life, and it won a beautiful award as well. So, you know, my work is quite different, and you want it to be recognized. And I definitely have a style that does get recognized in my industry now. So maybe not yet my everyday client would recognize that, but I know that in my industry, people can look at my work and go, oh, that was done by Nevina Holland. I've literally nurtured that now by sort of fine tuning my work with mentoring and investing in extra learning, and created a style for myself. So my style is very much quite dark and moody and dramatic, and using lighting to sort of sculpt pictures as if you're painting with light. Whereas other photographers are kind of light and airy and use lots of whites and things like that. So I'm quite different, and I would hope that people come to me for that style as well. Business awards. So I feel like they're quite different in that they show that you're an entrepreneur or mumpreneur, that you've got good business acumen. And what I actually loved about the Best Businesswomen Awards, so the first one that I ever entered, and I never got this with anyone else, is I loved the support that you gave in crafting your submission. So the podcast that you can listen to, you know, the webinars that you put on about, you know, what category should you enter. You know, people don't know what they're doing when they enter these awards. You know, you actually give them the answers. You
I do.
really do. Like, you spell it out, and no one else does that. No one. You literally handhold us all the way through it, and that's something that I think is your USP. Because I mean, I'd written award submissions anyway, so, but it was really nice to have that. And I think for other people who are really worried about entering awards, you're there every step of the way. And there are so many resources. Like, I get all the newsletters, and I still look at them now because it helps me even now. You know, that's something I think that's really different. You know, one thing I would advise to anyone entering a business award is, once you've finished it, you've got this big booklet, thick booklet, and I don't know whether you give those back or not, but I make copies of those.
Well, when you entered, I think you were the last year where it was a physical entry, because obviously we're
Oh,
online now.
yes.
So we say to people, keep that Word document. You know, don't enter on our website. Yeah, you've got to enter on the website, but what I meant is, don't compile the entry on the website. Compile it in a Word document, and then copy and paste it into our website, because we are probably one of the most comprehensive and detailed award entries out there. And if you can get to the final of our awards, you've got a blueprint there that you can use for other awards.
And exactly that, and that's what I was about to say in terms of the blueprint. So, I mean, this is probably going to sound awful for you, but once I had that document, I then went on to enter
No, it's not. That's what I tell people to do.
the Hertfordshire Business Awards, which I
Yeah.
found less consumery and much harder to win anything from.
Yeah.
So I became a finalist for that as well,
Yeah.
and I went along to their award ceremony, which is amazing. So it was for the customer service category as well. And then I used the same award submission to enter another local awards, the Chairman Awards in London Colney, which is my village. So I used that as backup. With that awards, you actually can't put yourself forward. You have to be nominated. So that was really nice that I was nominated by so many different people. But again, as my backup work, I had that document to hand and it had everything was up to date. Why not use it? Because the following year it's going to be out of date. But saying that, I then entered, this was an industry award, but Newborn Photographer of the Year the following year. And this is an international award. Sorry, my voice is going. And I won runner-up for, overall Newborn Photographer of the Year. And to me, in that industry, with all your peers around you, and it was the same feeling, it's walking up, going, gala event, going picking up your awards, everyone clapping and cheering. These are all your friends that are photographers that have actually become your family. Who are really kind of cheering you on. They're your cheerleaders and stuff. So I use the same submission for that. So my advice would be, God, enter it everywhere. You've put in all that work, and it is a lot of work. It's a lot of effort. It's a lot of time. It's a lot of research. You're putting your blood here. But also, it's a really good time when you can step out of your business and look in and do a kind of 360 appraisal. Because we don't have people to do that for us. So we kind of, you can see that the bits that are missing, for example. So I know that afterwards, when I looked at my work, is that I didn't have an ethical kind of green edge to my business.
Sustainability, yeah.
And so I started to look into that because I'm a real kind of eco warrior at heart, and I collaborated with Mama Bamboo, Laura Crawford, who designed some beautiful compostable nappies that are made from bamboo. So they're 80% compostable. So just the little tabs on the nappies you just have to pull them off, but the rest of is compostable. So they're breathable. You don't get nappy rash. And so I work with her and I promote these nappies to all my clients who are on the very beginning of their journey. They probably haven't even thought about nappies, but if we can plant that seed that actually they can help the environment at that stage, I think it's an amazing thing to do. So I give them free wipes, free nappies to try and feedback.
Yeah, no, that's a really good idea.
Got a coupon code to get money off the packs as well. So that's a really nice collaboration. And then I plant trees for every baby I shoot. So that's really nice. And that's really, really nice story for the press as well. So I do that so that I can offset the carbon footprint of that baby, which is something that's really quite nice. So I pay a charity. I don't actually go and plant the trees myself. But the company's called Ecology, and I work really closely with them, and they plant trees in various different countries. And I think today I've planted 1,555 trees, and it's really nice. And they're in various different countries, and they actually send you out a satellite link where exactly that tree is planted. It's literally pinpointed. You can find out the species of the tree, all that kind of stuff. And it just makes me feel good in my business that I'm doing something to help. And St Albans do a sustainable festival, I think once a year. So I went along and I promoted my products that way. Again, a great way of receiving press coverage, great news hook. But awards are a great way of receiving press coverage. So I entered the awards in 2015 and I didn't win. So it was customer service and families back then. Even though I didn't win, I still got some really good press coverage. I've got it here. So
this I remember you got some good articles.
So that was from just being a finalist.
Yeah, that's like nearly a full page. Amazing.
Advertiser, again, testament to entering awards. This was the Chairman's Award.
Amazing.
So that was the local award. I've got front cover. I've got 2 front covers. So this was about my green story. You can see. I mean, I know not everyone can see this, but again, I think nearly a full page. Oh yeah, awards again. So there's me holding up my awards.
Oh, amazing.
With my branding and everything in there. So this is testament, like front cover again.
But the thing I love about you is that you just take action. You write the press release, you get it sent off,
Write the press
take action. Yeah.
See that photograph? That's me standing outside my studio. I got some balloons in.
Birthday. I remember seeing that.
And I just got my husband to quickly take a picture. And that's going to be the news hook.
Yeah,
That's going to be, this is what I mean by journalists. Because I've worked with journalists so closely, they need us just as much as we need them. Yeah. They need to fill their spaces. And we need to be mindful of that. They need us. We're not always going to be written about. And it is it's something that's not paid for. So if there's a big news story, that it's hit and miss as to whether they're going to do any press coverage on you, but they also might, and you can also message them again and follow up 2 weeks later and just see if there's space for you. But I think it's my background and my career in marketing that's really helped me with that. But
definitely. And I think you're an action taker. We're quite lucky with the Best Businesswomen Awards. Journalists do seem to like our finalists, and if people put stories out there and they've got our name on it, we do see them get published. But you've got to take the action. It's what I'm always saying to people. When people say to me, oh, I've entered awards and I've won and I've never got any press from it, and I'm like, well, what did you do? Well, I didn't do anything, I was just a winner. I said, what do you mean? You just think the press are just going to pick that story up? You've got to write the press release and you've got to tell the journalists about your story.
And it's not just that, it's the following up.
Yes.
You can't just tell them. So I've worked on the other side of the press. I've worked with journalists and they get over 100.
Oh, yeah, I can imagine.
And, it's delete. You've got to stand out and you've got to massage their egos, but you've got to chase a press release. Not just because you sent a press, you have to chase them honestly about 5 times. You've got to be on the case, and you've got to be like an annoying fly. You've got to did you get my press, and just you've got to work quite hard, I think, to get something in the papers. But it's also about relationship building and knowing what journalists to go to, who the right journalist is, because they're often so busy and they often want to put the phone down on you, because you've got to be persistent, and I am persistent, I'm not going to lie. But you do have to, success, you have to go out and find it. It's not just going to come to you. And I'm one of those people, I will go out and find it. So I think it was me who initiated this podcast. Like, it is out of my comfort zone, but if you don't make these things happen, because I think you'd mentioned me on a previous photographer's podcast, and I thought, you know what, I should do that. That should be my next step. And so you have to initiate them. And it's the same with radio interviews. I'll just ring up now. I won't wait for them to come to me.
Yeah, exactly. Put yourself forward. Yeah. So I think that's great advice to finish our discussion on. Put yourself forward. Take action. And you are an incredible action taker, as you are an incredible photographer. So hopefully you will go on to continue to build your business. I'm sure you will. And win more awards, because I'm pretty sure there's still more awards to come your way. You are an incredible businesswoman, and I'm privileged to have been able to recognise that. So thank you for joining me today.
Thank you so much, Debbie. Thank you.
If you've been listening to today's episode, and you might be expecting a baby, or you may have just had a baby, or you might know somebody who's having a baby. Nevina is based in St Albans, London Coney in Hertfordshire, near St Albans. And I know she covers the Hertfordshire area. So if you're in that area and you're interested in talking to her about photography, then we will make sure all her details are in the show notes, and just go and have a look at her incredible photography, because it really is breathtaking. So thank you for joining me today, Nevina, and I wish you continued success with your business.
Thank you, Debbie.